You ever see a guy who just has it? That raw, undeniable talent. The kind of player who, even in limited action, makes you lean forward in your seat. Like, yo, this dude might be special. For me, Kadarius Toney was that guy in the 2021 season. He had quick feet, was electric after the catch, especially in space, could stop and start like a video game glitch. He had a habit of making defenders look silly. And for a brief moment, he looked like he might be that guy. For Giants fans, this is something that we had been waiting for since the flashes of brilliance we had seen from Odell Beckham. But sometimes talent isn't enough. And for Tony, the difference between what could have been and what actually happened, it's wide. Really wide. Tony came out of Florida with all the buzz. He was a human highlight reel. In his senior year, he racked up over 1,100 yards from scrimmage and 10 touchdowns, all while looking like the most explosive player on the field almost every snap. The Giants noticed this and saw the upside, and despite trading back in the 2021 NFL draft, they grabbed him at 20th overall. The way this draft shook out was especially haunting for us Giants fans, considering they could have had Micah Parsons, but that's a video for another day. And for a moment, it did look genius, especially if you cut to week 5 of 2021. The Giants played the Cowboys. Kadarius absolutely goes off for 10 catches, 189 yards. Couldn't be guarded, and he was cooking guys like Trevon Diggs in his prime, breaking ankles left and right. And that had us Giants fans saying, have we found our wide receiver one? When this guy plays, he's actually pretty good. And even after being ejected for throwing a punch in that game, people were willing to overlook it because the talent was obvious. But after that, things got weird. Kadarius Toney missed a ton of time with injuries. Then there were even more injuries. And then reports started surfacing. He wasn't picking up his playbook. There was all these weird rumors about this guy and how committed he was to football. He wasn't showing the commitment that the team expected. There are rumors of friction between the coaches and his work ethic. And less than 2 seasons after drafting him, they shipped him off to the Kansas City Chiefs for a couple of draft picks. And quietly, there was no fanfare around it. They just kind of packed up his locker and moved on. And that's rare because you don't really see teams give up on a first rounder like that this early on unless you see all the red flags that just can't be ignored outside of being a good football player. It was funny going back and doing this video and just remembering that he never actually had a receiving touchdown for the Giants. And that time period that he played for the Giants felt so much longer than he actually did for 12-ish games. So Tony had landed in Kansas City, which would obviously be a dream for any skill player with Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, a high-powered offense that could hide flaws and elevate strengths. Even Travis Kelce was stunned that the Giants let him go, saying, I don't know how they actually let him out of that building. And for a minute, it worked. Flash forward to the Super Bowl, Chiefs vs. Eagles. Kadarius Toney made one of the biggest plays of the night with a 65-yard punt return, the longest in Super Bowl history. It flipped the field and helped Kansas City take the lead. He even caught a touchdown earlier in the game. It looked like he had actually found his place in the Chiefs team, but the momentum didn't last. Moving forward, he couldn't stay healthy. There was a tremendous struggle with drops, especially big ones in huge moments. He disappeared from the offense and became more known for his tweets than actual plays. And then things ended up going from bad for worse. He began to spiral publicly. There was the allegations of domestic violence, run-ins with the law, multiple off-the-field distractions. Those same concerns that teams whispered about during the pre-draft process were now out in the open and absolutely undeniable. The Chiefs would let him go, and on September 29th, 2024, he signed with the Cleveland Browns practice squad. He was elevated to the active team on December 7th, and following his performance in Week 14 versus the Pittsburgh Steelers, he muffed a punt and actually got a taunting penalty, and he was released 3 days later. Pretty fitting for how that worked out. Now, playing in the NFL is a privilege, not a right. And Kadarius Toney's story is a reminder of just how fast that privilege can disappear. He had everything you wanted in a playmaking wide receiver: elite agility, explosive speed, the it factor. But what he lacked was just as important: accountability, consistency, and mental toughness. And you can't teach these things. The NFL doesn't wait for players to figure it out. And if you're not locked in physically, and more important, mentally, someone else is ready to take your spot. The curious case of Kadarius Toney is still being written. Maybe he gets another shot, maybe he doesn't. Usually with any sort of domestic violence stuff at this point, just because of the image that it has for the NFL, guys aren't going to get that shot, and rightfully so if what he did was true and it's held up in a court of law. He doesn't deserve a shot, and he's obviously a piece of shit, and I think anyone would agree with that. But in the end, outside of that stuff, this is a story of wasted talent and a painful reminder that potential isn't always promise. Toney will always have that Week 5 Cowboys game that Giants fans will always remember. And he'll always have that Super Bowl punt return against the Eagles. But it'll always end with what could have been. And that's the curious case of Kadarius Toney. Let me know what you guys think of the comments. Obviously, this isn't a player that I've thought about in quite some time, but it did pop into my mind. I thought it was an interesting time to do a video about this, as we are in the middle of the offseason. There's OTAs going on, so things and content are a little bit slow. But I did want to do my final thoughts on Kadarius Toney. And so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think down in the comments, and please subscribe for more. Until next time, I'm out.